How's my hair? Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Been watching a lot of Letterkenny lately. 2, 3, 4. Beady bop 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 da do. Ribbit bip 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 bee dee dee bop bop beep bop dee. Okay. Hi there. I'm gonna make this quick because I got a lot of shit to do. That's not true. I just don't want to be taking up both of our time here today. What? Now he's wearing different glasses. Sorry, I'm in a very silly mood. It's not been a terrible day. It's not even been a bad day. It's just been a long day. And, you don't need to hear my problems. All right, first up. So I'm still picking away at my backlog up at the shop. So I didn't buy any of this week's books. And it was kind of a pain in the butt because the Marvel shipment came this morning at like 11 a.m. Usually it's here by the Thursday or Friday before, or at the very latest, the Monday or Tuesday before. But today it was actually new comic book day. But for once, it didn't really affect. I mean, it wouldn't have affected me anyway because they still came in. It was just kind of a pain in the butt. Anyways, so I still have got a giant stack. I got some reading in this week, but not as much as I'd like, as usual. But the show must go on after all. I don't know. First up, I got Joe Fixit #1. This is from a couple weeks ago. This is from the Marvel Comics. Is that right? So, if you're unaware, that is in fact the Incredible Hulk. If you did not know that already. Back in I guess it would have been the early 90s, 1990. Peter David, who had been writing the Incredible Hulk for some time at that point, at least a few years. And I don't know if it was his. In fact, I should have looked into this before, but I'm pretty sure Joe Fixit is a Peter David creation. So back in the very, very earliest issues of the Incredible Hulk, the change from Dr. Bruce Banner to the Incredible Hulk was not an emotional trigger. It was more of a werewolf thing where he became the Hulk at night. And he would get Rick Jones to seal him in this cave, which he usually busted out of anyway. He was also gray when he was supposed to be green, but there was a printer error. So he came out gray. I think that was only for one issue, but it's always, he'll be gray, or Joe Fixit is gray. And I'm not sure how this works now. But basically, certainly by the early 90s, and definitely by now, Bruce Banner has got he's got real split personalities. And not just the one we all know about. But I believe it was a thing where, Hulkbusters were after him, and there was a big fight. Somebody probably died, and then he was like, "Blech." And so he went to Las Vegas, because he was back to the nighttime, being the nighttime Hulk. Went to Las Vegas, and as a giant, tough guy. And that was the other thing, is that in the very first issue of the Hulk, he's not as dumb. He's brisk, and brusque, for that matter. But he's not the Hulk smash, Hulk want, leave Hulk alone sort of Hulk. So he naturally becomes an enforcer for a casino owner in Las Vegas. This was my entree to the Incredible Hulk, and it was obviously much different than what I was used to, but it was also super cool. He's a fucking Vegas leg breaker. Yeah, I'll read the shit out of that. So this is, and I think there's been more of a clamor for this character. He did figure into the Immortal Hulk run that Al Ewing wrote, which is, become the definitive Hulk story of the last decade or so, I would say. And Joe Fixit shows up in that, albeit in a scrawnier, more, it's hard to explain, obviously, so I'm going to stop trying. But anyway, yeah, Peter David was like, yeah, sure, I'll write more of this. Peter David is a writing machine. I bet you he wouldn't be able to name how. I mean, I don't know how you could even keep track of how many comic books that guy has written. And I mean, I always enjoy him. Speaking of which, enjoying things. This is it's hard to tell. This is Spy Superb #1 by Matt Kindt. Very cleverly done up to look like a Trader Joe's bag, obviously. So you can't, I don't know if you can read it too good, but it says Spy Superb is a trader, which is, Matt Kindt is stealing one of my first year jokes. I don't know about you guys. I don't shop at Vaughn's or Albertsons or places like that. I only buy groceries that have stabbed their friends in the back. And that is why I shop at Trader Joe's. Solid joke for a first year comedian, if I do say so. And apparently Matt Kindt thought so too. No, I'm sure it's parallel thinking. This was my recommend for last week, I think. Matt Kindt is what you would call the Wes Anderson of spy comics, which to some people would not be a good thing. And it's all, I mean, even to me, and I love Wes Anderson, but it is kind of an oversimplification, obviously, of both of their works, but it is pretty accurate. Kindt's, I don't want to flip through it, obviously, to spoil myself for anything. And I'm sure I've talked about it, in fact, just recently, I think, but he draws in a lot of colored pencil. He used to use a lot of watercolors. I don't see a lot of that in here yet either. And he's always done a lot of spy stuff. He's written a lot of superhero stuff, but when he writes and draws stuff, it's usually spy related. Even if it's more science-y fiction-y, it's still kind of central around a spy theme. And it's not like Tom Clancy or any of that stuff. It's not what I guess you could call hard spy-fi, in the same way that you have hard sci-fi and soft. I don't even know what the... This is not hard spy-fi. This is lighter. It's more, a lot of... I don't know about this one, but his early works especially, I want to say like Super Spy and Two Sisters, those all take place during World War II, where there's technology and stuff, but obviously it's not, it's pretty old. But that's like, because that's the thing with the spy genre, is that technology and gadgets are a big part of it. But Kindt is not interested. He's more interested in the nostalgic technology and gadgets, which I am also. I'm more interested in that sort of thing than I am in whatever the latest James Bond thing is. I mean, James Bond is a perfect counterpoint to what Matt Kindt does. I like James Bond movies. I mean, I like them more than any of it. I don't think I've ever even seen a movie based on a Tom Clancy novel. And I'm a dad, so don't tell anybody. But anyway, yeah, this is the sort of thing that I expected. It's going to look like something else. There's probably going to be a secret code in there somewhere. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm really hoping it is, because this costs twice what a regular funny book does. So, I don't know if it's because they had to make it out of Trader Joe's bags. But, I mean, I'm not complaining because it's Matt Kindt spy stuff, and that's never something that you should feel bad about paying for. I really am. Look. All right, takes the last week. We'll start with this one because it was fine. It was fine, but it was not like last year's issue of Timeless, and it was not, as I had been hoping, a roadmap to what's coming up in the Marvel Universe. Except that Kang is going to be in that new Ant-Man movie. Oh, he's got his reading glasses on now. You know he's going to be critical. The art is great. Greg Land did most of the art. And even though there's times where I don't care for Greg Land, this is not one of them. He does the connecting story, but not like there's other artists anyway. I'm trying to get to the parts that are relevant. So the story is Myrddin, who is Merlin, or claims to be Merlin, has brought forth his Twilight Court to fight Kang in the future, and they're based on, Knights of the Round Table and blah blah. I was like, come on, get to the next shit. So okay, here we have Black Panther and Submariner looking as though they're fighting alongside of each other. This, for whatever reason, feels like it's already happened to me, so it's not a futuristic thing. Here you have Lockheed and the Pet Avengers, who had their own title I want to say about 10, 12 years ago, which I didn't bother with because it's mostly for kids. Here's something very interesting. You got Wolverine with a Ghost Rider head. Okay. What's going to happen there? Who knows? This guy, who I can't remember, but I do know who that character is. And it looks like Carol is turned into a Brood. This is something that was actually kind of foreshadowed in this ad. So it kind of, this, the Brood is an alien race. And if you think they bear some semblance to the Ridley Scott H.R. Geiger aliens, well, you are absolutely accurate. But they're still like a fun, and they were like X-Men villains. I think they were created by Chris Claremont, in fact. But the X-Men and Captain Marvel are having a crossover to fight the Brood. So Carol turning into one on this page, again, doesn't really foreshadow much. But the ad I read 3 pages previous didn't tell me. Okay, there we go. And that was one page. And now we have another. So here we have Bishop and Armor on a team together. Armor was on the Astonishing X-Men. Bishop has been around since the early 90s. This is a killer bird of creature of some sort. And as I was reading it, I'm like, oh, that's that blah, blah, blah. But I now I can't think of it. Here is something extremely interesting. You have who appears to be Spider-Man in a black costume, but if you look closely, he only has 2 toes and 3 fingers. So that means that's what Nightcrawler, Kurt Wagner, has that same thing. I don't see a tail on this character, though, but if there's some sort of Spider-Man Nightcrawler crossover coming, I'm all for it. Here's another thing that has already happened. You have Luke Cage as mayor of New York City. That happened during Devil's Reign, though. I'm not sure what the 777s is, but here you have what looks like the Green Goblin combined with Carnage and Ghost Rider, which, yeah, I'm on board for something like that. When are these things going to happen? I don't know. But see, this is what I'm saying is that maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but last year had several pages like that. It might have just been the 2, but I don't think so. And they were all the things that they were hinting at were a little more clear, is also how I remember it. So, yeah, kind of a bummer. Especially for a $6. Well, I think I said that last week. That $6 is less than I expected to pay for something like this. But, yeah, kind of a letdown. At least maybe I was putting expectations on it, comparing it to last year's exactly named book that came out at the exact same time and purports to do the exact same thing. I did not enjoy it exactly the same, oddly enough. These 2 books, in the hand, I very much did. First was Gods Against Gru. And as I mentioned last week, Tom Bluth is no longer coloring. This is like the first Gru comic that Tom Bluth hasn't colored. Certainly in the last certainly since I've been collecting comics. Evan Neer mentions it in the back matter, the letters page, but he doesn't really say why. He just says Bluth had other stuff, he was moving on to do. So, I don't think it was... it doesn't matter, I guess. I'm just curious whenever something like that happens, because even though... Did I keep saying Bluth, don't I? I mean Luth, right? I'm going to feel like a real idiot. Either I'm thinking of Arrested Development or the animator Don Bluth. Bluth, it is. Sorry, I've been saying Bluth this whole time. What a dummy. Anyways, this is the 3rd part of a kind of a trilogy where the gods, and then at the end of the last story, Gru actually did become a god. He still exists on Earth as an idiot, but now he also exists because you got enough people. I don't remember how it happened, but over the course of the last story, enough people started worshiping Gru as a god enough that there was a god appeared in the pantheon. So now the gods have to put up with an idiot Gru god, and it's pretty funny. So we'll see how that goes. This was exactly what I was expecting and more. So as I said last week, I believe anyway, this is written by Tom King, who has a lot. He wrote Strange Adventures and Mr. Miracle over the last couple of years, doing kind of updated takes on these characters and who were big in the 70s, and now he's done that with a bunch of these characters, and I'm super excited. Some of them were so B and C list DC that I hadn't even read them, like Green Team, which I mean I've seen those books around. A lot of them were from first issue special. Um, the Dingbats of Danger Street, for example, which is where the book obviously gets its name. There was I believe this is when this is when Kirby had come to DC in the 70s. They had a book called First Issue Special, which was kind of like a tryout book. They would put a new character or new team or something like that into one issue, and if enough people wrote in and said they liked it, they would get their own book. I think the Creeper, who is also in this book and was a Steve Ditko creation, was the only it's the only one I can remember that came out of that book. Like Green Team and Dingbats, I don't think they did. Oh no, Metamorpho though. Who I think I have that first issue special with Metamorpho. Metamorpho is also in here. The '80s Starman is in here. It's so good. I'm really it's the one I'm most excited for out of what I've read so far since coming back from vacay. So the plot is still like there's a mysterious. They have a Doctor Fate helmet. Metamorpho, Warlord, and Starman have Doctor Fate's helmet somehow. So they're trying to get into the Justice League by fighting Darkseid, and then I think somebody other than Darkseid shows up, and things go awry. So I'm super stoked for this. It's also, and I haven't read Strange Adventure yet, so I'm not sure if that, but I think it is. And I think I mentioned this last week. It's all 9-panel grid stuff, which is to say the standard comic book format when it first started was 3 panels, 3 panels, 3 panels, and I love when you know who loves writing a 9-panel grid story? Alan Goddamn Moore. That's who. Watchmen is all 9-panel grid, and so is The Killing Joke. I mean, sometimes they'll make 2 panels into one long, or all 3 into one long panel, or sometimes they'll have a half page and then 3 panels. It still hews to the basic structure of a 9-panel grid, and I love how it looks, especially with these Tom King books because they're all very meta. At least to me, they are. They're very much not just about these characters. The story it's an adventure superhero story with these characters. The dialogue's a lot more believable, but it is basically a superhero story. But then it's also examining what it is that these characters are supposed to be, if that makes any kind of sense. And I think, I mean, I'm sure this is why Moore did it with those 2 books, and he may have done it with V for Vendetta. No, I think V for Vendetta was a little looser in that regard. So was Promethea, for that matter. But that's why I believe he does it, to draw attention to the fact that you're reading a comic book. Watchmen especially is why he does that. And I love it because it means that the form is being taken seriously, if by no one else other than the creator and me. And even if it's just me, that still works. So yeah. All right. Under 20 minutes. Oh, it's not on.